Oh, there you go. Thank you, Isabel. We have a great experience with the students. I think every year the program gets stronger, and as it grows, as we have bigger and stronger cohort, some network effects also tend to get stronger. So very excited for this discussion. Very excited to learn from you guys. Any questions, etc., that we can answer and help out with. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mueller. I also wanted to introduce Professor Gabriel Gomez. He's actually our advisor for the capstone projects in ME. And he's been doing this for several years and has a lot of experience with capstone projects.
Thank you, Isabel. Yes, my name is Gabriel Gomez. I'm actually a lecturer here with the ME department. I teach a class in statistics and data science, another one in programming. So if those are your interests and you take those classes here in mechanical engineering, then you will see me in class. Just want to second what Mark was saying. Congratulations for being in the program. I have put together and I have led several of these capstone projects, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. Just a small sample of the capstone projects that we have and the projects in sort of my area. There's a large variety of different projects available for you, both in ME and in other departments. Ask me any questions that you have of me, Isabel, and Mark will be very happy to answer your questions. That's what we're here for. Back over to Isabel.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to share, let me share a PowerPoint slide with you. To go over the MEng MEng requirements. So on your application, you chose one of the 9 areas of concentration in our MEng program. So it's advanced energy technology, aerospace engineering, applied science and technology, biomechanics, control of robotic and autonomous systems, fluids and ocean, MEMS nano, mechanics and dynamics, modeling and simulation, product design, and sports engineering sciences. If you do not know what your area of concentration is, please check on your application because that is the area that you were admitted into. For your degree, you need to complete 25 units in 2 semesters. 12 units must be ME 200 level courses. 8 units are Fung leadership courses. And then 5 units is your capstone class. In addition to the 25 units, you need to complete and pass 2 comprehensive exams. One is in leadership based on the Fung leadership courses. And the second one is your technical exam, which is it's an oral exam based on the ME components of your capstone project. You must also complete all of your courses with a minimum grade of C- or higher to count towards your degree while maintaining a GPA of 3.0. Next. So this is a tentative list of the courses for fall 2026. I'm sorry, that's a mistake there. It's fall 2026. These courses may change. We are still confirming them. That's why they're only tentative at this point. And once the fall classes have been confirmed, I will go ahead and send that course list out to everyone. You must complete at least 2 courses in your area per semester. Okay. And again, about the ME Department Comprehensive Technical Exam, it's an oral presentation. You must have 2 committee members. 1 committee member must be from the ME department, and 1 committee member must be on the academic senate. one member can be both an ME representative and on the academic senate. That's fine. You'll be tested on the ME content of your capstone project. You can also have a capstone project in another department, but you will still be tested on the ME content of your capstone project. We also have the Tech Plus certificates. There are 7 available, and this is the list. In addition to your 12 units of ME 200 level coursework, if you want to get the Tech Plus certificate, you'll need to also take and complete 2 additional technical courses. And depending on which certificate you want, there's a list of the technical courses required for these certificates on the Fung website. Um, some general questions. So there's something called Berkeley time, which means that classes start 10 minutes after the scheduled time. For example, if you have a class that starts at 11 a.m., the instructor starts the lecture or the discussion section 10 minutes after 11 a.m. So if you have back-to-back classes, you have 10 minutes to walk from one class to another. Second question, can I take a technical course outside the ME department? Yes. However, those courses do not count towards the 12 units required for the MEng degree. We recommend that any courses taken outside of the ME department be taken for a non-letter grade, so it doesn't affect your overall GPA. Third question, can I be a GSI, which means graduate student instructor, TA, or reader? Yes. We don't restrict students from applying for any of those appointments. However, we don't recommend it due to the shortness of the program and the heavy workload. And also, students must meet the eligibility requirements listed at the GSI Teaching and Resource Center. That includes a language proficiency requirement, which cannot be waived. I will be sending out the application link to the Fall GSI TA and Reader application pool after April 15th to students who have accepted the admission offer. Next question, can I change my area of concentration? Yes. You should make this request before July when you start enrolling in courses, because the courses you select depend on your area of concentration. Can I defer admission? You can request to defer your admission. We review them on a case-by-case basis. Historically, requests are only approved if you have an extraordinary circumstance beyond your control. Requests to defer due to financial restrictions or job opportunities are not extraordinary circumstances, and requests to defer must be submitted before June 1st. Can I extend the program to a 3rd semester? No. The full-time MEng program is a 2-semester degree program. We do not approve requests to extend the program for voluntary reasons. Can I add the PhD program? Yes. A very small number of students actually want to stay to do research. And they can do so by changing their degree goal. However, you need to find a faculty member who will support your request to join the PhD program. The process is on our webpage. The MEng program is not really designed to do research, so there's really a small portion of students who stay to do the PhD program. Or they'll actually apply to other universities for their PhD program. If you want to contact me, most of you know my email address is miblanco@berkeley.edu. I also have Zoom office hours on Monday and Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. except today. And the Zoom link is here, and it's also in my signature when I send you an email. Okay. All right, thank you. And right now, if you have any questions for Professor Mueller, Professor Gomez, or myself, um, please go ahead. You can also add it to in chat.
I can maybe make a quick comment. Just maybe Isabel, you introduced us, but maybe I should just take a moment and acknowledge Isabel is really responsible for keeping the whole program in the department on track. So a lot of administrative effort Isabel does, and she generally knows the answer to all of our questions. So I just want to acknowledge the huge role she plays in our program here.
Thank you. Anyone can go ahead and ask
I
questions
see
in the
there's a
chat.
question in the chat here. Is there a way to connect with other students in the cohort to start connecting or organizing for capstone projects? And then there's a suggestion for a WhatsApp group. Do we have something like this in the past, Isabel?
So on the Fung website, they do have like an email address for current MEng students who can reach out to other newly admitted students. I can get that information from there. So it's a little early to start um, talking about groups for capstone projects. The proposals for capstone projects haven't gone out yet, and they're usually not sent out to students until June.
Maybe it's worth just taking a moment to talk about the mechanics of the capstone. So the way the capstones work is Um, the Fung Institute at some point asks faculty and companies to propose projects. These then go into the capstone marketplace where students have access to see the capstone projects. Students then apply for capstones and rank them according to their preference. Faculty then look at the students that have applied and rank students according to their preferences. And then Fung Institute does the matchmaking in the background to make sure that projects end up with enough students to be successful, etc. And that's how assignment is done for the capstones.
Yeah, so that means that I don't know how much there is to be gained by forming groups to apply to these capstone projects because in the end, it's kind of out of everyone's control who's going to be assigned to what. Because us as the advisors, as Mark said, we make our request, you make your requests, and then there's some magic that happens in the background, and neither of us have much control over that.
However, I mean, I think there's a WhatsApp chat link here. I mean, if students want to just in the background also get to know one another, I think that certainly can only be good, right? One of
That's a great
the
idea.
main things you want to get out of the MEng is the network of peers, right? The excellent students that you're going through the program with. And the sooner you can start making friendships and connections, I think that can only be to your benefit. So I certainly encourage you guys to start to get to know one another.
Okay, so I can read a few more questions. So Ken says, I think Isabel answered to Courtney. And then next, I believe, is Ken. Do I have to take all 4 technical courses from my concentration? Isabel?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, go ahead, Isabel.
Yes. Ideally, you'd want to take all of 4 technical courses for 12 units in total. Um, Usually, students take 2 courses in their area of concentration per semester because most of our courses are 3 units each. However, if you can make a request to take 1 course in your area of concentration and a second course per semester in another area. For example, control students, sometimes they want to take their control course, but then also want to take a product design course. That's fairly common.
Okay, then we have from Marta, would it be possible to extend the master's, take additional courses that can count as credits to fulfill the 120 ECTS required to qualify as a European master's?
Unfortunately, no. The MEng program is a strict 2 semester program.
Okay. Kieran Moon asks, when does the enrollment window for I guess, close for the courses?
So newly admitted students start enrolling in fall courses in mid-July. If you look at your CalCentral portal, they will be, once you're matriculated as a new student, they will have your enrollment start day and time.
Okay. So Izzy Stolzoff asks, how similar are the biomechanics and sports engineering sciences concentrations? Is the sports engineering sciences concentration relatively new?
I can maybe speak briefly to that. These are generally quite close. The sports engineering concentration is a fairly small concentration, and most of the students that go into that end up taking courses that are commensurate with what you would have taken in biomechanics as well. So I would say there's a large overlap there.
Okay. Nitin Vasudevan asks, are we allowed to take more technical electives than required? Are all courses auditable slash taken as non-letter graded?
Yes, you can actually take up to 20.5 units per semester. We obviously don't recommend that. So courses not required for the MEng degree, you can take for a non-letter grade, or you can audit classes if there are seats available. You would have to ask permission from the instructor to audit a course.
Yeah, maybe there is some color. If you ask the instructor, I think most instructors are very open to students auditing their class, but sometimes there are like space limitations or other technical limitations. But generally, that's fairly easy to do.
Okay, we have from, oops, I lost it.
Uh,
Vaibhav Bagrodia, could you please highlight some lab works and projects pertaining to the aerospace that are in progress?
Sure. Gabriel, do you want to? I mean, I can speak to some of this perhaps. So, yeah, we have some aerospace, various aerospace things in my group. We do a lot of aerial robotics work. So, I have three capstones this year, which are often the capstones we run will be some of our the robotics research, but in specific application domains. So, we have one project this year on solar panels. So, how can you use aero robotics to perhaps do maintenance of solar panels? We have one project on agriculture and one project on infrastructure inspection. So there'll be three that I'm personally very involved with. But we also have projects with companies, for example. So we have projects with satellite companies on design of components, for example. We have had companies, we had last year, we had a company that was interested in mining helium on the moon that had a capstone. So I think there's a broad range of possible aerospace capstones that you might encounter. And again, it could be academic focused, or typically with a faculty advisor, or it could be more industry focused. And we have, I'm not sure exactly what the breakdown of numbers is, but there is a fair number of both.
Okay, so Oli Brower asks, would it be possible to take one or two courses outside of our specialization, but still within the ME curriculum while having those courses count toward the degree? So outside of the specialization, but still within ME.
Yes, again, as long as you take one course in your area of concentration, you can request to take the second course per semester in another area and have it count towards your degree, as long as it's still an ME 200 level course.
And Isabel, this is done by petition, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
basically, as long as what you request is reasonable, then, and most of the time it would be, right? So, I mean, here I think the incentives tend to be aligned.
right. Correct.
From Mihir Kulkarni, is graduate housing provided?
Uh, it's it's not part of sorry, housing is an additional cost, and on the Fung website, let me put it on the Fung website link on the housing resources. Yeah.
Okay. Mrigank Shom asks, in my undergrad, the mode of teaching followed a weekly lecture plus tutorial format. Does UC Berkeley also follow a similar format? Appreciate your input. Well, every course is a little bit different. So some courses are 2 times a week, some courses are 3 times a week. Some have labs, some have discussion session. So, there's quite a variety of different formats for the lectures. Okay. So Taina Fritz asks, is pursuing a MEng or DEng, I'm not sure I know what that is, but maybe they mean MEng, a common path after an MEng. So what is a DEng? I'm not sure. In mechanical engineering. If so, what does the transition process typically look like?
I wonder if this is asking about a doctorate. Taina, could you maybe clarify your question? Feel free to just unmute and speak into the mic. And maybe if the question
It
is,
might be a doctorate in engineering.
if it's a doctorate, I mean, it is, I would say it's not a common path. I think this is in the single digits a year that do this. But it does happen. I am this year, one of the students in one of my projects is continuing with a PhD after the MEng. So it does happen, but I would say it's not common. It's possible, it's not common.
Sorry, not the PhD, but I know on the website it said there's a DE, the Doctorate of Engineering, which it says it's like a different path than a PhD.
I'm not sure exactly what the context there is. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Taina, if you send me an email with the link you're referring to, I can get back to you as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So Julia Megargle asks, would you mind showing the fluids and ocean concentration classes? Apology, I missed those. So I believe Isabel will send that out.
I will send out the list of courses once the fall 2026 classes are confirmed. Let me put in chat what I have tentatively for fall.
What I can also do, Isabel, is why don't I just paste the link to the MEng website for the department, and if you click on the concentration, you have the list of potential courses as well.
Oh, okay.
This is a caveat that, as you look
Yeah,
at this, not all courses are offered every semester, right?
right.
Or every year. So as you're looking at those, these are possible courses, but depending on faculty, workload, other considerations, we don't necessarily offer all classes. How do I send this? Uh, there we go. Sorry, there we go. We don't necessarily offer every course every semester. If you go to maybe what is the course catalog website, if you're curious about courses, how they're offered, etc., you can see courses at classes.berkeley. You can see sort of historically what classes are offered, etc.
So there's yeah, if you Google Berkeley course catalog, you'll get there.
Yeah, classes.berkeley. I dropped it in the.
Okay. So Ryan Tavasol asks, how different is an MEng program from a regular MS program in terms of technical knowledge?
Yeah, so when you think of like master MS is broad, but when I think about master of science, typically it would be a 3-semester program where you spend 2 semesters doing full-time coursework and you spend 1 semester doing a full-time research project or thesis. So the MEng differs in sort of one obvious way is 2 semesters versus 3. But also the MEng has the leadership component. So the MEng has the leadership courses through the Fung Institute that a typical MS would not have. And also the MEng capstone project is a team project, not an individual research project. So I think these are the sort of big differences in these programs.
Parth Nair asked, is there an automotive engineering section in the capstone project/courses?
No, we don't have automotive explicitly. I think there are a few things that would sort of, be tangential to it. Certainly, control of robotics and autonomous systems. One of our faculty is Francesco Borelli. He is currently on industrial leave, but he does a lot of work on control of automotive systems. So if that is something that's of interest to you, that would certainly be something that you could look at. But if you're interested in sort of the dynamics and mechanics of these, you could think of the mechanics and dynamics concentration, etc.
Kyle McNatt, could you clarify the timeline of the capstone selection process? Typically, when are the teams and projects finalized? So I think the selection starts in late August, or when do you put in? I don't want to say anything that's wrong. Isabel, do you have the exact dates on that?
So they're going to request the proposals, capstone proposals from faculty, usually, you know, end of this month, beginning of next month, and then they send out like a short description of all the possible capstone projects to students in June. But students don't start um, submitting the survey on which capstone projects they prefer until like August.
Yeah. I think beginning of August they submit, and then everything is finalized around mid or late August. Um, okay. Avi Punjabi asks, could you show the controls courses as well? Okay, you'll get that when Isabel sends it out. Ryan Howling says, sorry, I didn't hear your answer. Is it possible to count technical courses from other concentration areas to fulfill your MEng requirements?
Yes, basically the answer is yes. It's by petition. Generally, it's not a problem though.
Yeah, as
Uh,
long as they're ME 200 level courses. Courses taking in other departments do not count towards the MEng degree.
Izzy Stoyhoff says, can you choose to do part-time option if you initially applied as full-time?
Yes, you can request to transfer to the part-time program. You must do so before July 1st. You cannot transfer from full-time to part-time or part-time to full-time after June 1st when you have matriculated into the fall semester. The graduate division does not allow changes to the program after June 1st.
Ken Liao asks, so is it allowed to take courses outside of my concentration but graduate in my concentration? Is there a minimum requirement credits from my own concentration?
Yes, you would have to have at least 2 courses during the academic year in your area of concentration or 6 units.
Mihir Kulkarni asks, how does industry view an ME versus an MS? And you mean an MEng versus an MS?
Isabel, do you have an answer for that?
So the Fung Institute would have a better answer on, the jobs that or how industry views the MEng program versus MS. Um, they do have like their job data on their website. But the best part, or one of the best parts of this program, is that you have career counselors who will go over networking with you, um, any help you need with job interviews. They have career fairs. So they're the best people to talk about like industry job opportunities and how to make the MEng program uh, work best for you.
Okay. Michelle Lee asks, are there recommended materials like personal computers, tablets, or what is provided by the school?
I think
Well,
here, it's technical degree, so you certainly need, you'll need a access to computer. I don't think the school provides anything. There are some needs-based things that you can apply for, if I'm not mistaken, Isabel, but I'm not sure of the details of this. But there's certainly no standardized expectation of what students should have.
There is not, and the program does not provide laptops. We do have the software needed for your courses. Those are available um, through the university usually or the department.
Alex Rotman, do you mind showing the courses for the controls robotics concentration? Okay, so that
I
you
added that to the chat already.
yeah. Rosalie Lynn, I'm applying and admitted to a part-time program. Is there another session that is part-time specific? For example, how does that look for people who is working to take classes, do capstone projects, etc.?
So the part-time program you can complete within 2 or 4 years. So it really depends on the length of the program. If you're doing the 2-year part-time program, you would take all your technical courses during the first year and then your leadership and capstone classes during your second year. You can actually, if you want me to go through like in more detail about the part-time program, just send me an email and then we can set up a time to meet over Zoom.
Okay. Josh Bardwick asks, is it easy to get a seat for courses in your concentration required for graduation? How large are the classes?
So it really depends on the class. Some classes can be as small as 12 to 20 students, and then some, for example, the control courses can be 50, 75, up to 100 students. So it really depends on your area of concentration and the class that you want to take, and if there's a lab discussion or a discussion section. But usually, lectures for control courses are 50 and above. Um, so we do save seats for MEng students in almost all of our courses. Sometimes there might be limits on the seats that we save, but usually MEng students can get into any ME 200 level class that they prefer.
Joshua Flieger asks, do most graduate students live in provided housing resource or at separate off-campus housing?
So most MEng students prefer campus housing. There's some that are right on campus, like the Berkeley International House. And then we have some off-campus housing for graduate students. So there's really a wide variety of places that you can stay.
Okay. Mehmet Bakaksizier asks, to the best of my knowledge, there's a concurrent MBA MEng program. I also understood that it is slightly different application process. Nevertheless, I wanted to ask whether we would have a chance to pursue that degree as currently admitted MEng students.
Unfortunately, no, the admission process is different. You would have to actually apply to the MBA/MEng program, and that application goes through the House Business School first, and any students that they want to admit to the MBA MEng program goes to them first, and then they forward any of the students they want admitted to the specific departments. So at this point, if you're already admitted to the MEng program, you cannot add the MBA program.
Okay, going down to Nitin Vasudevan. Have you had people shift from MEng to MS?
So we do not offer a standalone MS at the moment. So no, this does not happen. The only way you get an MS is effectively on the way to your PhD. So that does not apply.
Jackson Norberg, if classes are interdisciplinary-ish between concentrations, how competitive is it to enroll granted that these class offerings are limited and share enrollment with other concentrations and maybe MS PhD students as well?
So you will be taking your graduate courses with students in the other graduate degree programs, but we do save seats specifically for MEng students. So typically you wouldn't have a problem enrolling in those courses, except the ones that I can think of right now is ME 206A, which has very limited seats in general, and ME 292C, human-centered design. That's just because of the way the course is handled. It can only seat about 50 students. But we do save like 95% of the seats for MEng students in both those classes.
Okay, so Michelle Lee was asking about getting stats for ME, and looks like maybe they got an answer from Avi Punjabi. And moving on to Alex Ye. For students who come from more of a technology background as opposed to engineering, how will they manage to get their footing in an engineering background in such a short time?
Uh, Alex, do you mind clarifying what you mean by tech background, technology background? All right. I think maybe clarifying a little bit, then we can give you a better answer to your question. So I think otherwise we might not be on the right track. So I think let's come back to that, Alex, if you don't mind asking your question with some more clarity, if you don't feel comfortable speaking up.
I'll move on to Ryan Salmon. Uh, so it was mentioned that switching concentrations is possible. Could you elaborate on the process? Is it guaranteed upon request, or is switching dependent on the profile application being successfully reevaluated in the scope of the updated concentration?
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, so you would send me an email with your request to transfer to the new area. I would just need a short paragraph with your justification as to why the new area is better suited for your career goals. And then that request is reviewed by the department. And we usually let you know within 3 to 5 business days.
Eric Lee asks, for the MEMS track, are learning objectives more focused toward theoretical knowledge and theory, or developing technical fabrication skills?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think if you look at the courses, Berkeley courses tend to be first principles theory driven. I think, in terms of the capstone you compete for, the capstone you elect, etc., that will probably really be the thing that drives this question, right? So if you choose a capstone that is more fab related, then you'll probably get more of that. While if you do more theoretical capstone, and then you get more of that side. I think there really the bandwidth would be in the capstone project.
Yeah, a related question here from Miles Young. What machine shop resources are available to MEng students? So that depends again on your capstone project, and if it's a capstone project that involves the machine shop, then there's a process to sign up and get training for the machine shop. It's pretty competitive, and you should make sure to sign up early in the semester for that.
I would say maybe there's the machine shop. There's also the Jacobs makerspace. So the machine shop has very nice tools, but is kind of strict about when you can work and so on. There's also the makerspace. The makerspace has a lot of 3D printing, laser cutters, etc. They have a bit more flexible hours, etc., but lower barrier for entry. But it really depends on your capstone project, what makes sense.
Okay, so we heard here back from Taina. Yes, I'm wondering about the doctorate. So then looks like we got an answer from Jackson Norberg. Moving on to Ryan Hulling. Since you can do two technicals from the concentration and two from another, could your degree note both concentrations or just the one you enrolled for?
Unfortunately, the registrar's office only allows us to use one area of concentration.
Rosalie Lynn asks, are most classes on campus or will there be online classes as well?
Generally, classes are on campus in person. Depending on the instructor and the course, some courses are recorded and in-person attendance is not mandated. So, I think there's sometimes you can get away with not coming to class. I would certainly encourage you as a student to use your time at Berkeley and actually come to classes, even if the option is there to watch a recording instead, you will get more out of it. But the policies will depend on the specific instructor.
That's right. Josh Bardwick, what kind of facilities and workspaces are available to MEng students? Are there any buildings, technologies you'd highlight as unique to Berkeley?
There's a big question. So on the one hand, the Fung Institute has various sort of spaces and social events and networking events, etc., that are sort of unique to the Master of Engineering program. In terms of specific technical resources, it really is driven by course work. So maybe a course has a particular lab that requires access to something, or the capstone that you're doing. So if you're working on a particular capstone on a particular technology, you would of course have access to that. But these would be driven by the particular capstone and the people that are involved in that.
We also just inaugurated a new engineering center with a lot of really fantastic space for the students to work in. So I think that's pretty great
That's
for
true.
Berkeley.
That's
Yeah.
the Grimes Engineering Center for anyone that wants to look it up.
Izzy Stolzoff asks, sorry if I missed this, but where can I find the list of tentative concentration courses?
I can actually send a list of tentative fall 2026 courses to everyone. I'll do that by the end of the day. But remember, these are tentative courses, and most likely they will be changed. Um, they're not confirmed yet.
Michelle Lee asks, are there stats on where ME students go after graduation and their job titles? The stats I found were about the whole MEng program rather than ME specifically. So I think this was a question that was already asked, and maybe it already has an answer. So Jed Ashkar asked, does anyone know how to check their area of concentration? The application portal letter has no mention of it. How do we check our area of concentration?
So if you check your application again, and actually on the email that I sent saying, congratulations, we have recommended you for admission, does have your area of concentration in it.
Nitin Vasudevan asks, is the Tech Plus certificate included in my degree when I graduate? How is it distinguished?
So you would be receiving on your on your final transcript, it will say Tech Plus certificate in the area. There's 7 different areas.
Mike Hay asks, is it possible to join Berkeley Motorsports as an MEng student? If so, what form of curriculum credit will be counted as?
Mike, I assume you're speaking of the Q student clubs. I think in general, if you want to work on the clubs, that's certainly not prohibited by anything, but you don't get academic credit for it, right, Isabel? There's no mechanism to turn any of that into academic credit.
Correct.
Okay. Nitin Vasudevan, in terms of practical engineering skills, the courses will teach the theoretical background. How does the student learn the practical application for capstone, for example, learning a specific manufacturing process or practically implementing a control algorithm?
Maybe Nathan here. First of all, I think the courses try to strike a balance, right? So, I mean, certainly the courses, try to teach first principles, understanding, and depth, and so on. But certainly, we also want to give students practical skills. So, I think most courses have some amount of skills involved as well. But in terms of more specialized skills, these are typically done as part of the capstone, right? So, I mean, if your capstone requires certain technology, part of doing the capstone is learning how to use that technology.
And you'll have a faculty advisor or an industry supervisor, depending on your capstone project, with whom you will probably be meeting on a weekly basis or biweekly basis. And that's how you will be able to interact and get all of that knowledge that you need.
I mean, I think every capstone student has a faculty advisor, even if your project is with industry. Of course, an industry project, your interaction is more intensely with the industry advisor than with the faculty advisor, but there is always a faculty advisor in the loop.
Miles Young, will the list of courses be confirmed before April 15th? program acceptance decision deadline?
So the first day that current students can enroll in fall courses is April 13th. So the courses have to be confirmed before that.
Nathan Vasudevan says, when are courses confirmed? When are courses confirmed, can we also plan for spring so that we know all the technical courses we can avail for the entire program duration and be prepared for the capstone and our career goals in general? Are we given advising to aid in our choice of course we take and how we can maximize it to better suit our goals, given we have only limited courses we can take? So will we be able to know the spring courses early, and how do we choose?
So for the department, spring courses will not be available until September because they're still working on scheduling them.
Okay. That was a lot of good questions, and I think we got through them all pretty much on time. What would you like to do next, Isabel?
So are there any further questions? If anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask, they can do that as well. If you don't have any further questions, you can always send me an email with your question, or if you can think of any afterwards. I know that there are still some online sessions with the Fung Institute today and tomorrow. And then for those of you who are available, there's the in-person visit day on Friday. Oh, there's more questions. So the recording of this session will be available on the Fung website. It should be there by Monday of next week.
There's one from Dennis Makua. Do you roughly know when the financial aid packages will be released / sent to students?
So if you're receiving a Fung Award or Opportunity Grant, those are posted to your Cal Central portal by August 15th. If you're requesting financial aid, I have no idea. I'm sorry. I don't know what their deadlines are.
Jackson Norberg asks, where is the info for the other Fung Institute events?
Isabel, do you have the links or the things for the other?
Yes, sorry. Here's the link. Oops, sorry. 1 second.
Now maybe take this opportunity to remind everyone that in about 28 minutes they're launching some astronauts to the moon. So I'm going to paste the YouTube link as well. So
Awesome.
if you have plans in the next hour, maybe cancel them and watch this instead.
Okay.
Cool.
And Tin, I'm very disappointed. You should be paying attention, and then afterwards you should watch the launch.
Okay. If there are no more questions, again, please send me an email if you have any further questions. Thank you, Professor Gomez and Professor Mueller. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone. It was really nice meeting you all, and I hope to see you on campus.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.